Many films acquire cult status, but not all of them merit that honor. In the years since its original 1984 release, Repo Man has acquired that status and is deserving of it. Mostly ignored during its theatrical run, it has since developed a devoted following among movie fans and punk fans alike. This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 61, Spotlight on Repo Man.
Superman.
Hello and welcome to episode 61 of the Cult Faction Podcast with a spotlight on Repo Man. Yes, we'll be doing views and news on all things going on in the world of cult TV and films, with a little bit of chit-chat thrown in. But also we will be having a in-depth review, spotlight, deposition, taking a part of
autopsy
Repo Man. But before we come on to that...
you've missed one thing.
Oh.
For maybe 1 week only, we're bringing back the drop zone.
It's not for 1 week only. Yeah, as many listeners have requested, we will be bringing back a drop zone because there is a lot of stuff that has been dropped.
And we've had an empty zone for a while.
Anyway, yeah. So before we get started, does anyone have any news from a personal perspective that they want to, bring up? Anything monumental happened over the last week that you just feel like you need to share with us and all the listeners?
I went back to work.
Yeah, well, for you that probably is quite monumental. Damien,
Open wallet surgery.
Of course, yeah.
Just built a moat.
It's not that whacking great big hole is going to be a patio. There's a
looks like a moat
concrete base at the end of the garden for
Are you building a real life Castle Grayskull?
That would be cool.
Although, a moat probably would be cheaper.
I think it probably it would be because I could just fill that hole with water.
Yeah, well, you'd probably need lining.
And liner, but that can't be that expensive.
Some bodies.
See, you did it wrong. You should have wrote into the BBC with some made up heart sob story.
I did say that. I said we should just write to there's a one on the afternoons. It's not called Ground Force, but Garden Rescue is called.
Yeah.
You say what your budget is. So they say you got $4,000 to spend.
I don't even need a sob story.
But that doesn't include. No, you don't need a sob story.
£6.80.
No, you don't need any of that malarkey. It's just
got your lovely fuchsia.
Film a video of your garden and say what your budget is. But they don't. The labour doesn't come out of that budget.
Oh, okay.
And that's the biggest cost.
Yeah.
Slabs, cheap as chips. Labour.
That's a different TV show.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's been my week, is the garden. It's great fun.
We feel your pain. So I'm just looking around that you mentioned that, and I just wonder where my wallet is. I put it down somewhere, but that's not important for time being. And Summers, other than going back to work for a change, nothing big in the Summers household.
Well, all the cool things I'll talk about in a minute, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
I do love the fact that I look at your mum's posts on Facebook and I'm a little bit jealous of her world tours.
Yeah, I didn't go. It's not happened to me.
No.
Why am I talking about it?
So
I didn't go on a cruise.
My point was, anything big happening in the Summers household?
Oh, my mum went on a cruise. I didn't. Whee.
Yeah.
It's not. We've had the Jubilee weekend.
Yeah, it's not the 1990s anymore. Having an empty house doesn't have the same thing. My mum's gone away. Let's go.
Did anyone watch any of the Jubilee stuff?
Not at all.
Yeah,
I got suckered into that concert thing.
Really?
I didn't want
Rod
to.
Stewart doing Sweet Caroline.
See, I love that because
he
I
kind of apologised for that the next day.
I was thinking
he was made to do that.
Why
apparently.
are you doing Sweet Caroline? That's not your song.
Yeah, but don't forget he had about 5 great songbook albums, didn't he? Where it was all covers.
If you want my body, yeah, you can't imagine that going down with the Queen and the royal family.
There was a bit.
Although maybe Diana loved it.
There was a bit in the week when I think it was about Thursday. They had what's his face? Ricky Gervais's really tall friend, Stephen Merchant.
Stephen Merchant.
He was on the One show, and they asked him about if he liked the royals. He went, "Oh, I love the Queen and that cheeky Prince Andrew," and everyone just went into panic stations and just looked at him. That was probably a good
And
bit.
now we're off to Scarborough to feature.
Yeah. There was a few bits I liked. Most of it not for the right reasons. Prince Charles and Camilla on EastEnders was a golden moment in British television history.
Didn't see that.
No.
It was well weird.
Yeah.
Weird in a good way, because he just had all these people clearly nervous about meeting them. And it was kind of rehearsed, but obviously without them. And then everyone was being nervous, but in character reacting and nervous.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're all in character. Well, this is our local greengrocer.
Sounds a bit meta.
Martin Fowler. I've been here for generations. They got Sonia in where they mentioned
I love it if Charles just went up to, all right, Adam. Watch ya.
And then they got somebody had been on the Princess Trust and they were younger and it had turned their life around, and they mentioned that to him. There was some nice tick box moments. And then Patrick Truman came out with his Trinidad rum and offered some to Camilla.
As long as it didn't bring up a Windrush
That's exactly
scandal
what I was
or
about
something.
to say, yeah.
That would have been amazing. But, and then he offered some to Charles, and Charles was like, "I thought you'd never ask." And all like that. But it done what it was. It was just a really weird sort of meta TV moment. It was almost up there with the Doctor Who crossover.
That was its peak as far as I'm concerned.
Crisis in Time, where it was the EastEnders Doctor Who crossover
Children Need Special.
Right, that's enough of the Jubilee.
Yeah.
Summers, what else?
The Boys was back for season 3.
Yeah, I haven't watched this yet.
I don't want to give too much away because I know people haven't watched it yet, but episode 1...
Social media has given some...
Damien hasn't seen any social media though.
Right,
Not on that I haven't. I've managed to avoid it and I'm still trying to, so please don't.
Okay, social media gives away a big...
which you're about to do. So shut the fuck up.
No, I'm not going to do
You
it.
are. I can see it in your eyes.
He's going to do
tone of
it.
your voice.
He's going to
can't
try
help yourself.
He's going to try and be subtle and be really obvious.
Subtle as a fucking sledgehammer.
Don't be a
I'm
dick.
not having it.
Don't be a dick, Brett.
I'm not. I'm just
Right, move on.
protecting you from his beating.
Penis. Move on.
There's a whacking great big hole out of the garden. I can put you in it.
Carry on, Brett.
I've seen that. Stranger Things.
See, I haven't
Done that.
back to Stranger Things yet.
Done it. It's good.
Is it?
It's good. It's better than sort of. It hasn't dragged much yet. It's still. I would say it's still not as clever as it thinks it is.
Yeah.
But it's still good. I enjoy it. I'd put it in a similar manner to like The Princess Bride or something like that. It's a good watch. It's a solid program.
It's such.
It's solid. It is a solid program.
Anyway,
But it's not as good as it thinks it is.
weirdly, Stranger Things was getting dissed a few weeks ago because some of its episodes were long. It's like, what? If you really like a show, you don't mind if they're film-length episodes.
All those people moaning when Part 2 hits in July. Part 2 is only 2 episodes, and I got a feeling they're going to be about 2 hours each. So good luck, peeps. And
but then you say that about episode length, but if the pacing's off, then it does feel,
But this-
whether it's your favourite show or not, if the pacing goes.
But this was before any, hint of a storyline or anything. It's just they were whinging because there's a couple of 2-hour episodes. It's like, well, that is like 2 films. I mean, enjoy it.
Well, that's one of the good things. We talked about the freedom of making your shows on streaming services and that before, where like Netflix and other people have sort of said, well, if you need it to be like normally in America, I think it has to be like 50 minutes with adverts or whatever. They got like 48 minutes in it or something with the adverts cut in, whereas Netflix
they have like an opening sequence, then adverts, then the credits, then adverts, and then
But I mean, it became obvious in the UK once 24 launched on BBC Two with no adverts and it was 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
But so in the streaming services, well, you don't need to worry about that. You can make it as long as you like. If you need to be 48 minutes or 50 minutes, you can. And if you run over, you run over. There's not a penalty for it.
Yeah, but they haven't got a fit schedule, have they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I think they're taking advantage of that. And if it's 2 hours an episode, it is. But again, like you say,
back to the series.
Really freaky. Don't let little kids watch it. All the kids at my school have seen it. And they're kind of reenacting bits, and they love
But
the
that's
Netflix song about running up the hill.
But that's a good positive sign.
Yeah, and everyone likes Kate Bush now.
Who didn't? I always liked Kate Bush.
But kids at school now are, sir, can you put the Stranger Things lady song on?
Although I must admit, some of her songs are a bit weird, even for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically running up that hill. That's all they want.
Yeah. But season 2 kind of took a bit of a
Season 2
dip
was
to
the
me.
worst season for me. It just kind of strained it out a little bit, and maybe pacing issues, maybe just a bit of like, because season 1 was pretty much on the money. It just kind of dragged on a bit.
Well, I said to Shell, do you want to watch season 3? No. It's like, oh, okay. I'm going to have to watch that at my own time.
Season 3's all right. Season 3 kind of gets a bit more of the humour back.
Cool. Right, Damien.
Okay, I'm going to start with
Dun, dun, dun.
Solo.
Oh, you watched Solo.
So I have now
He's riding
fully
Solo.
caught up. I'm where everyone out. No, that's not true. No, because I haven't seen the third prequel, have I? But I'm more or less.
Have you not seen
caught up.
Rogue One? Is that the one you mean?
No, I haven't seen the last of the 3 prequels.
Where he
Oh,
turns
okay.
into Vader.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
but I know I don't. I know enough to
You
not
kind of know what happened.
exactly.
Probably
I
the
knew that
best
before.
one of the 3, but in my opinion. But
So I
yeah,
haven't
that's
heard.
right. So tell me about Solo.
It's
I'm
boring, isn't
intrigued.
it?
I didn't like Solo.
God, it just drags. It's just
I like
boring.
that one.
2 hours and 30 something minutes of nonsense.
Yeah.
No.
And also,
I thought you might like that one.
Solo has redefined on how Disney are going to be making potential sequels, prequels going forward, i.e. for big characters not getting other characters, because, whoever it was that played Han Solo, he had big shoes to fill. He was never going to be Han Solo.
I got no problem with that because I always said things like, years ago they should have just replaced Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones, just done a James Bond type thing where they just keep the same, just refresh the actor.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bother me. What annoys me is that it was just slow.
Yeah.
And they're obviously trying to shoehorn these little things of all of Harrison Ford's mannerisms and the way he speaks in the original 3. Basically, they're trying to signpost that it was influenced by Woody Harrelson's character. So what they're trying to say basically is, over 20 years or whatever it is, he's influenced by a guy that he hung about with for the best part of a month.
So that just reminded me of young Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But he shot first.
Yeah, I get it. There was some nice little Easter eggs and stuff like that, but the whole Woody Harrelson thing and the that influences who he becomes annoyed me because he's not in it enough. It's not. The timeline is too short for that to make sense.
I liked the conscription to the Imperial forces and all that sort of thing, and the sort of.
I didn't mind that bit.
No, that bit was quite. I quite like that. That's what I said. I like that
don't
bit.
think there was anything. There's nothing wrong with it, insofar as all the little bits like your conscription, the Easter eggs, all that is all well and good. It was just a crap film.
And the whole thing about the Kessel Run as well. It's like,
and he lied. He rounded down, which I thought was that was typical Han Solo. 'Cause he went, yeah, but and Chewie goes, no, because you round down, not up. Because he made it quicker. But no, it was they were trying to do a heist movie in space, and some of those bits, like all the other people, like we were supposed to be worried about. I've forgotten her name now, and she was she in The Walking Dead? I can't remember who it was now. The woman that got blown off the train with Woody Harrelson and all that.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, like I say, you know what I
yeah.
mean? I haven't seen it for a while, and you only see it recently. You know, we were supposed to care about them, gone. But I was more interested with where it would go at the end, because I wanted to see, I've forgotten her name now, Emilia Clarke. I'd like to have seen, like, the Star Wars we'd seen, but through her eyes under the criminal underworld. So you could have had...
what is it with
like
you in criminal underworld? You're always wanting the criminal underworld and Star Wars.
Wants another Sopranos.
And normally they're more interesting.
I just don't know whether we're actually going to get one. But
Like,
you're right. I mean,
but do you know that thing? Because it's like, so she's this criminal mastermind. She stitched everyone up and played everyone in the whole film. And then, you know, Darth Maul's involved. And then, like, it was kind of like, I thought, yeah, if they carry on with it, this could be quite interesting. And we could sort of see, and Han could pop in now and then, but it'd be more her story. And at that point, Emilia Clarke was a check to cash in, because
Yeah.
you know, Game of Thrones was riding high, and I don't know if they thought she was just going to sell it on her own or what, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Solo.
What about you, Paul? What's your first on your list?
Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of quick things.
No, we just okay.
No, because I'm just saying you've spent a bit of time talking about these things.
Okay.
But I wanted to do a couple of quick things. So first of all, Elden Ring.
Have you got
That's
out
just
yet?
that fucking computer game.
Yeah. So I've actually managed to take a castle and clear a level. I've also think I've killed like some big boss,
Voldemort?
Godric or someone. And I only got some crappy thing that I don't know what it is for it. But I'm not dying as much anymore, which is
It's always a positive.
which is a good thing. The other thing that I've been listening to
Ooh.
is Sandman, the audiobook.
All right. Yeah.
And I've spoken about audiobooks in the past, and they're quite good to help me fall asleep. The annoying thing with Sandman is I put it on about 11, half 11. Next thing I know, it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm at work in like 4 or 5 hours. Well, 6 hours. But I have to get up early and like do the kids and school lunches and take them to school and stuff. So yeah, really good audiobook. And it's one of these ones where it's not just someone reading the book. They have different characters and the whole atmosphere.
All-star cast.
They're not.
Yeah.
It's not quite a dramatization in the radio play sense of the word, but it's
somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
there's special sound effects. There's
It's
decent.
James McAvoy, isn't it?
I can't remember.
I think
Yeah,
he's the Sandman.
it's one of them. I always get confused because Joel Edgerton is normally on every bloody audio book I pick up. But no, it's really good so far, and it just really took me back to the old infatuation I had for the comics in the old days, and the visualization of that. So that's really cool. Another just quick mention before I come on to we go around the table again. We're probably going to talk about some of the stuff anyway. Is started watching Night Sky.
all right. Yeah, I got that on my list. But
Yeah, and so I think we're like 6-7 episodes in.
well, you've only got about 1 or 2 left, then I think
Yeah.
it's only like 8.
And you're right, it's not fast paced or there's not action every 5 minutes, but it's just something about it that just keeps me entertained.
Yeah. So you obviously you got the MacGuffin of the portal and what is it? Why is it there?
Yeah.
that keeps your interest. But I mean, I would say what I was going to say about it because I've watched it all now. So as I said last week, and what you've just said, it's the pacing. It is a slow burn, and it's really focusing on J.K. Simmons and Sissy SpaceX characters.
Yep.
Dealing with getting old and being almost like lonely isolation, and obviously mourning the loss of their son, which was 20 odd years ago, but it's still it's going to leave a dent in it. Let's be honest. The sci-fi element is almost a side project to what the message they're trying to get across, or what the story's about.
I was getting a bit worried because I still kind of think there's a little bit of a cocoon where Sissy SpaceX rather seems to be getting a bit better. I'm not quite sure whether that's a bit.
I was
deliberate
thinking
thing
along
or-
with
You're just
because
getting older.
I was thinking it was her making the journey was making her ill, because basically she hasn't gone back to the portal since she wrote that letter, has she?
I thought it was the guy's
No,
appearance.
well that is, but not in that,
Making
not
her
in a mystical way. It's given
So
her
she's got
something to live
zest of
for.
life,
It's-
right.
Yeah, exactly. So I've watched it all now, and everything I just said is a positive. There's one negative, which is the last episode is clearly just there to bridge
set
the
up
gap
season 2.
for season 2,
Yeah.
and it almost kills it. I can't explain what I mean or how it kills it. It just kind of all of a sudden picks up pace, and obviously you get a few little answers
Is it
because
like
they
a
can't
clip-
not
is it
answer
like a-
everything.
Suddenly it's a cliffhanger ending sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to
So-
watch it. I haven't seen
It's
any
good.
of that yet.
And it's just
what-
going to be
what's
really
that
annoying.
available on again?
It's on
That's
No, it's Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
It would just be really annoying if there isn't a second season.
Yeah.
Be one of those.
Yeah. Flash forward.
I might wait then.
I would recommend waiting. Although, I can't. It's not an unsatisfying ending. It just, like I said, because of the way it's all slowly built up, you expect an ending rather than a cliffhanger. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the threads do end, but a lot of new ones pick up in the last literal 5 minutes, which is frustrating.
All right, Summers, back to you.
Okay. It was the final episode of Inside number 9 this week.
Yeah.
The end of season 7? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I caught up now. I still both pay it forward. What was it called?
Oh, A Random Act of
Kindness. And yeah, Wise Owl.
My favourite episode of the season.
Yeah,
And
no doubt.
Again, really messed up, yet really clever, and shows us that they can still do it.
Yeah, I mean it's dark. There's
almost surreal elements.
There's 2 twists in that.
Yeah.
In that episode, you get the one you obviously see coming about the
sister,
but you don't, or at least I didn't quite see the second bit of that cut, the why, if you like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And just I just love the play on the old, like Charlie Says adverts as well, and all that sort of thing, like the animation side of it, because I haven't checked yet or listened to their podcast on it, but it almost looked like they must have found the original person, because it almost looked like the old sort of Charlie Says, those sort of public safety adverts.
What do you mean the original person?
Like whoever drew it, like the artist.
Oh, I thought you meant the kid. It's like,
yeah,
it's not going to be the kid.
No, but like that sort of
Charlie Says.
I could draw if you.
But it was that an animation and
but it's an animation style, isn't it? You can replicate that.
True.
But yeah, you're right. It was absolutely spot on.
They're the sort of people that would track that man down and drag him out at 90 years old out of retirement because they want the same person to do it who did it originally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was really good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in the fact that it was the best episode, and it's it's the only episode you can't really talk about with giving anything away.
What did you think of Random Act of Kindness?
I thought it was all right, but I remember what you said last week, which was it's one of those that actually would make a damn good feature film for like an hour and a half to tell that story. It was constrained into 28 minutes or whatever, but that could be expanded into a whole feature length. But it's good, and I thought that was the case, as in I thought that was going to be the twist. I thought, no, they don't do sci-fi. That's not going to be what they're, because I think that's the first sci-fi they've ever done, and out of whatever
7 seasons,
7 seasons. So whatever 7 times 6 is, I can't be bothered to do that maths in my head. Whatever that is, plus 42. A couple of specials, they've never done sci-fi. So I thought that like, no, it's not. It's going to be something else. It's going to be something like mundane, but it's going to make you go, oh, okay. So having that at the end was clever.
But yeah, good show. Check it out if you haven't. Inside number 9.
Damien.
Midwich Cuckoos.
Ooh, I've recorded that.
Yeah, I've seen the first one.
So I'm 3 in, I think, maybe 4.
Ooh, is that a positive sign? It sounds positive sign.
It's actually quite a hard slog.
Oh.
But again, and I've said this before about things I've either read or watched original versions of. I might be thinking it's a hard slog because I know the story.
Yeah.
So none of the creepiness is coming as a surprise. None of the what's actually happening comes as a surprise because I've read the short story rather.
And I'm assuming they're not going to dramatically change it just for the fact that
it's just been updated,
modernised.
It did annoy me. So in the opening couple of scenes, so it opens with a couple sort of basically making a run for it, and then their kid comes out of nowhere and sort of tries to stop them. And this is just me being pedantic, but they got a red Volkswagen Golf with a 66 plate, and then it jumps. Then it goes 5 years earlier.
It's the same Golf.
No, it's a 62 when the car is following them, but when the car's in front of them, it's a 66 again. And there was a couple of other little just annoying continuity errors that are not integral to the plot or anything, but it just annoys me. And then so they jump to 5 years earlier, and there's cars with license plates of 70 on them, like in the car park in the background. It's like it's not. But so even if it's
That's an odd thing. Just
yeah,
for continuity would be fired if I was
Yeah.
in charge of that production.
exactly. It just annoyed me.
Yeah, because normally, drama like that, they, get it spot on.
Yeah.
That's the whole point about it.
So,
You
I mean,
try
you've-
and
and
immerse
you've got-
yourself in those time periods.
I mean, the people you got in there's no slouches in it.
Yeah, they're all. It's a strong cast, but
It's boring
in all
now, innit?
honesty, and then some of them feel a little flat.
No.
Like, I mean, Keely Hawes is almost just
Miserable.
stereotypical. Not
Keely
as
Hawes.
in just the stereotypical psychiatrist type.
Oh,
I
right.
think she's a child type. Bleh.
Yeah, child psychologist.
Thank you. And
Could have been anyone playing her.
But
it's just a cliche, yeah. So she doesn't bring
Yeah.
the
But
fact
it's
that
almost
her.
like
And Max Beasley is almost just impotent in it. He's just
well, everyone is. Everyone in it is just sort of. What did I write? I did write a review for this. I put everyone is just miserable.
yeah, but even
No, but not even in it. It's that there's not even. It's not like everyone's miserable and that's the vibe, and you pick it up.
yeah,
Everyone just looks like it's that day at work where no one wants to be there.
yeah.
It's
It's
that
just
sort of thing. And
it is. It's just flat.
Maybe the catering wasn't very good either. It's like, oh, what's for lunch?
well, it does
or-
look. It looks wet. It looks like it rained a lot.
Yeah,
But now everyone just I'll stick it out. 'cause
yeah.
I
We're
wanna
gonna
see what
watch it
happens.
because I wanted to see how because obviously it's. I mean, it was written in 1950
I
something.
want to say 56. Let me have a look. But
I mean, the good thing is they brought it, they brought it. It's not a small village; it's a small town. But
Yeah.
then they've also what they've done is they've shrunken the small town. So there was only for want of a better term, the blast radius was only a couple of streets.
Yeah.
So they've managed to get that kind of claustrophobic thing back in.
1957. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's gone from a village to a town, but then they've shrunk it again a little bit. So that kind of helps.
It was like
with
around the
feel.
square, wasn't it? Sort of
Something
thing,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, around the school, I think it was. There was a school
Yeah.
was a centre point. But yeah, it's not bad television. It's just we were quite excited about it, and it's not delivering.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I might wait until you guys finish it to see
And
whether it's worth
it was just the
watching.
bit at the end of the first episode as well, where like all the women that had been through the passing out thing all kind of done that little hold
Yeah.
their belly, look a bit strange, like
Yeah,
my stomach
exactly.
feels funny. It's like we know what's going to happen, but
Mm.
I'm still a bit annoyed they haven't all got white hair.
Yeah, they've all got terrible hair though.
Yeah, I think they've definitely got like some sort of 70s wig on.
Yeah,
Wedge
well, that was one of the
cuts.
things I think I said to Sarah about the Hannah kid. I think her name's Hannah, in it.
That was the one at the beginning.
One at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like if you're scared of your kid, you get her hair cut. At the very least, it's going to make it feel less scary. It looks awful, but then maybe they can't take her to the hairdressers because they can't get her through the door or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be explained.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was the same. I was kind of really excited to watch it. I thought, well, we're going to get a good one, and then this will take off, and we'll finally get Chocky again. And I'm still not sure.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure it is going to take off.
Okay, cool. Well, I will again wait to see what you guys think of the remaining series, and
Is
then
the cuckoo crying for you? Let us know.
so I finally got round to watching Morbius.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was obviously a long weekend. Shell was in bed, so thought, well, she's not going to really want to watch this anyway, so I bought it. And yeah, what a bit of a shame. What a bit of a shame that whole film is. It's just one of those ones where you think this could have been so good. Is
Is there a good film in there, do you think? Or is it just...
well, there is. There's obviously a good story.
No, but I mean, from watching, do you think there might be somewhere in the cutting room floor there is a good film and it's just been...
It needs Snydering.
Yeah. Do we need a Snydery cut
It's
type
it's
thing,
hard
or-
to see if there was a good film. I mean, there's bit of CGI that just makes no sense. Morbius can obviously move really fast and all this kind of stuff, but they do this weird special effect where his clothes blur as well, and you just kind of think, what are you trying to achieve? It just looks really odd, but it's a CGI effect which they just kill.
Yeah.
And that goes on and on and on. It's just I just constantly thought, this is a shame. This could have been good. Jared Leto I've got a lot of time for. The English guy in it, again, Matt Smith, got a lot of time for him. He was one of the Doctor Who's actually really liked from the next gen Doctor Who's. But it just doesn't sit well. It doesn't play well. And there's not much of a storyline there. And what there is just so predictable. It's just a bit meh. And it's a real shame because, as I said, I really like Jared Leto. Yeah, so it didn't do anything for me. And
I wasn't going to watch it. I'm definitely not going to watch it now.
Yeah, I can see why it got.
Did you hear about it in America
slated.
this week?
What?
Because they brought it back to the cinema because of all the, it was COVID and lockdown and all that. So they re-released it at the cinema, and I think it did even worse than it did on the initial run. So it's kind of made them look even worse now because they paid for it to go back out on the rounds again, and it's not worked.
It would be interesting to see whether it was an original script that was great, and whether there's any conflict between producer, director, or whatever.
I'm tempted to put the blame on Sony just by what they've done to everything else that they ever touch. I mean, they were, Spider-Man was getting worse until Marvel stepped in.
But that's my point. How much control does the studio have over the film?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but I think
Sony
as a company,
research into it
corporate
to see whether the director is effing and blinding because he couldn't do what he wanted to do or whatever. But yeah, it's so lackluster, and it could have been really good because again, it's a dark premise for this anti-hero type role.
And vampires are cool. Everyone likes vampires.
I hate vampires.
There's no shining
too
in
many
day.
vampires.
But
everything's vampires.
Yeah. So anyway,
there we go. That's Morbius.
Right, who wants to take Obi-Wan?
Have I seen it? I
have.
Yeah,
I've seen the first three.
Yeah, that's all it's out.
Third episode. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I wasn't checking where everyone was before I talked about
So
it.
we talked about the first two last time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling to remember what happened in 3.
3 was the running away down the tunnel. Oh look, there's Darth Vader. We're gonna have a fight.
Oh yeah. So the second one was Flea kidnapping the kid, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third one
with Vader coming, to be.
That's right.
At the end.
Well, he realised he's alive.
Dodgy lightsaber fight at the quarry type.
No, that's the third one.
That's
what I mean. That's what
where
I was going. I'm trying to get my head back into.
Yeah. You're back in the game.
Into the galaxy far, far away.
Who wants to start?
I'm enjoying it, but I'm still trying to work out how this fits in because it's sort of like, last time we met, I was the apprentice. Now I am the master, but he was a master then. So I don't know.
But he was only still finding his feet as Darth Vader, so maybe that's what he meant.
Well,
I'm defending a line from
it's
Star
nice
Wars.
It's nice to see Darth Vader actually killing people.
Yeah.
Which is always a bonus to me. Rogue One was the really cool bit of that because, again, I've always said, as a baddie, he didn't really ever do anything bad if you think back. So that's cool. We're seeing him be evil. That's a bonus. I am liking it. Princess Leia I like that kid.
I think she
she's
steals the show.
Yeah. But
I'll tell you what did annoy me. So him and Leia are on the back of that truck with 3-4 stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And old matey
this
boy.
This is not the girl you're looking for.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I was half expecting that, and then that didn't happen. But he's no doubt got a name in the
slug face guy.
Yeah, whatever he was, the guy driving the truck.
Zach Braff
doesn't tell.
That's who it was.
Was it?
Yeah,
it was Zach Braff. Yeah.
Okay, doesn't tell them that they should check out this guy. He waits till he gets to the checkpoint. Wait, why?
Yeah.
No, I thought that was because they were like the main ones with the backup, and then he could get a reward or something, rather than the other ones he was just dropping off somewhere. So they were like the shit stormtroopers.
What's the stormtroopers at the gate? They all look
Yeah,
the
but
same.
I think
How
because
does
he was
know?
at the gate, that was where they could go
Right.
in and get him money or something.
Wasn't much of a gate though, was it? They could just go around it.
Yeah, I thought that when he's destroying something, it gives you that over sort of crane shot. It was probably a drone now, but gives you that,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, you could just drive around that and just
yeah.
why, yeah.
Shut up! Then you wouldn't be able to bring out the gate playset because you know that's coming. I was looking at it like this is a toy,
Yeah.
but I liked it. I still think I think there's still a card to be played with the main Inquisitor that she killed. I don't think he might not be properly dead, and I think Vader's playing her because he's still in the cartoon afterwards.
He's in Rebels, isn't he?
Yeah. And there's a big thing about that, and I'm just like, well, let's just wait and see at the moment. Everyone's like, how can he be dead? I was like, well, we've only seen a bit of the story. Let it play out.
I think the problem I have is I just don't care.
It's because you haven't watched Rebels. Rebels is
No,
awesome.
no. From the show, because they didn't make him bad enough to be bad.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it's counting on you knowing what he does later on and all that. So
No, exactly. But again, this the whole point about the show is for a new generation,
Yeah.
or for the specific watchers.
What they should have done. So this is supposed to be 10 years after, isn't it?
Yeah, about. Luke's about 10, in we reckon 9, 10. Yeah,
They should They should have done a series that fills that gap. That's got nothing to do with Luke Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi, but gives you the filler of what's going on.
And I'm sure they probably will, Damien.
Yeah, maybe they will. Maybe that's the point.
I'm generally
just stop relying on nostalgia.
And
Just
I'm starting
give
to
us that
struggle
10
with
years.
this whole Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi meeting up, having fights from everything that we've known from Star Wars. And it's like, well, they can't really do many battles or fights, can they?
because they're not. Well, I suppose you've still got. If we say Luke's 20, and he hasn't seen Obi-Wan for 10 years, that's long enough for me for it to be. The last time I felt that presence was in the presence of my old master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, or whatever it was. 10 years is long enough, but let's not have another one next week and the week after and the week after.
But the thing is,
let's have him chasing someone else now. Let's have him.
But Vader basically kicked Obi-Wan's ass, which was cool to see. Don't get me wrong. However, they can't leave it like that. Because Obi-Wan's at his lowest. Let's face it. He's got to come back with, "Yes, I am a Jedi again," or.
Yeah, but if this is all in a matter of 2 or 3 days, see, they might be able to get around it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. They have to do something because otherwise, it's just, well, what's the point of this series?
Totally agree.
And I know he disappears into the desert again for another 10 years, but there has to be a crescendo. There has to be a Obi-Wan, gets his fight back.
It's got to be his hero moment, basically, is what you're getting at.
He's still going to kill Darth Maul around this time as well, when Darth Maul hunts him down to the desert, and they just have the duel with just both of them.
But Darth Maul's not in this.
I know, that's my point.
Yeah.
But they've already done it, and that's been established.
Well, where's that been done?
That's in Rebels.
Right, okay.
And they have it. It's just the two of them. There's no one around. He's like, I'm not a Sith anymore, but, you cost me my legs. I want this sort, And he pops up through it, and it's basically like two old gunslingers, right? One of us ain't walking away from here, and they do it, and Darth Maul doesn't walk away. Well, he didn't last time either, really. But Star Wars joke. But no, but it's done. It's done. Yeah, you should watch Rebels. I know you don't like cartoons, but it's a lot more well written than some of the other stuff you've seen.
Fair enough.
Bad Batch is better than most
Bad
of the
Batch
stuff that
is
David's had to watch. Well, not had to watch. You chose to watch it.
But Rebel, it starts off a bit Space Aladdin, but then it kind of finds its groove.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a go.
There's a lot of, but yeah, I'm still waiting for Lando Space Pimp.
Right. Anyone else got anything else to mention before we carry on?
No.
Cool. That's it. Done.
News desk.
The news.
News items.
That's right. It is time for the news.
Bong.
I wondered whether someone was going to do that. Okay, so first up in the news, Netflix has announced an August premiere date for its much-anticipated The Sandman from Neil Gaiman.
The Sam what?
Sam what? Yeah.
Sandman.
Sandman.
He said the Samal.
Sandman.
Samow.
I was probably a bit excited about Sandmal.
The Sandman is a dark, new fantasy series from Netflix based on the Sandman comic book series created for DC/Vertigo by Neil Gaiman. Gaiman is also executive producer and co-writer of the series, which means he's involved. So anyone moaning about casting or little details that have changed,
It's
he's
okay because he
involved.
did it.
Neil himself is there, and it will air on Netflix from Friday, the 5th of August. Set your watches; it's one not to be missed. It gets a summons
Absolutely.
5 stars.
I think on that point you said about him being, it's proper actively involved as well. It's like,
Yeah, he's
it's
helped
not
design the
just,
sets.
you
he's
know, oh, we'll
picked the
give you an
colour.
executive producer
Title,
credit,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so you can get some more money. He's, you know, every day he's posting something out there new about it. So
James Gunn style.
yeah, proper hands on.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Anyone complains, suck it up, chow their head.
So I think this is easy. I think we're really looking forward to
Yeah.
this. We've seen the trailers, and yeah, I've just got high hopes.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest criticisms at the moment have been against some of the casting.
Yeah, but not from
But-
us. Not
But
from
not
us.
from
just-
no, I'm just saying in general, no, not from us, because we're waiting to actually watch it first before we make a decision. So, but yeah, it looks good for me. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Hope they go as dark as they need to.
Yes, and again with Neil Gaiman, and hopefully they absolutely will.
As long as the diner scene is there.
Right, next up, The Midnight Club is set to premiere on Netflix the 7th of October.
Bong. Yeah, that's right. Mike Flanagan returns to Netflix with a new horror series in the form of The Midnight Club. It's based on Christopher Pike's young adult novels of the same name, and the show centres on a group of terminally ill young adults living in Rotterdam House who get together at midnight every night to tell each other scary stories. The group makes a pact that whoever dies first will reach out to the others from beyond the grave. But when one does pass, and a series of terrifying events take place around the hospice, they must determine whether it's their friend or something more sinister.
I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I think it sounds cool.
I think David Williams ripped him off. Didn't he do a story about a bunch of kids running around a hospital at night? I don't think they were terminally ill.
I don't know. To be fair, if you
Actually, it's called the Midnight Gang.
Yeah,
He
that's
hasn't-
right.
well,
David
yeah,
Williams,
I wouldn't be
huge.
surprised. He's an arsehole, so
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I don't know.
And I just think it's nice
Come
that
at me,
Chris,
David
Christopher
Williams.
Pike got the chance to write some young adult novels whilst being captain of the USS Enterprise. Geek jokes.
All right, cool. So we're looking forward to that as well, by sounds of it.
Yeah, I think it's in the stuff that he's done in the past has been hit and miss. Say, I mean, Hill House was good.
Yeah, but the problem, I know you're going to say Blythe Manor. Hill House was amazing, and then they were like, you need to do another one. And it was like, I don't want to do one exactly the same. Can I do this thing I've got about these kids at hospital? And they're like, no, do another one like Hill House. And then he did it, and then they're like, okay, do the one about the hospital.
I wasn't going to say it was bad. It was just not as good.
Yeah, when
You
you
know.
come out hitting that, it needs to be. If he'd started with that one, he would have been all right.
Yeah,
And done
quite
it the other way
possibly.
around. Yeah, but you know, you got to follow. You're only as good as your last series.
Although I'm getting a bit of Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors kind of vibes off of that copy.
That was a mental hospital, wasn't it? That one.
yeah, I think so. It was yeah. A
Lawrence-
mental health institution, I think, is probably the right word to say now.
Well, I was using what it was the
The
phraseology of the time.
The vernacular of the 80s.
Yeah, this episode.
We don't want to go
uses-
back there. Don't get that in our mindset, particularly when we're coming up to talk about Repo Man. Get 80s,
This episode reflects terminology of the time.
No, it doesn't. That
Well,
could
it
get us
does, 'cause I've
shut
said
down
it
before
now.
we even
Yeah.
became big.
I've said it.
Trigger warning contains scenes of smoking.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. So, production begins on Hawkeye's spin-off series Echo.
Bong. Echo. Go. Revisits Maya Lopez, whose ruthless behavior in New York City catches up with her in her hometown. She must face her past, reconnect with her
Original roots.
original first-generation American roots, and embrace the meaning of family and community if she ever hopes to move forward.
Yeah.
And And the other bit which I didn't put in is, she's like deaf and she's got superpowers. So, hooray. Because,
Right, now I know who she is. It was bugging me. When I put this together this morning, I was like, I don't remember who that character is.
She is badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and now I know who you're talking about because I
it just made me that they mentioned everything else about her and not that other bit of the tick box.
I was okay up until the point where it's an embrace the meaning of family and community. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have Kingpin back.
Will we though?
Oh yeah, because when she shot him in the comic book, he wasn't dead.
No, I know that.
And hey, it's that time of year where everyone from Full Metal Jacket's making a comeback. You got Kingpin doing that, Matey in Stranger Things. But Echo, it was good. Badass. Again, Echo needs to be a lot darker though, because she's that kind of character. She's on the street.
I'm not sure whether we're going to get that if she's
she
embracing
needs to be
the
like,
meaning of
she needs
family
to be,
and community.
Yeah, this sounds to me like it's soul searching.
Yeah,
and she can't do it alone. So they're all going to get together as a tribe or
Daredevil.
gang and help her out.
But this is more Netflix, Daredevil, Jessica Jones territory, really. But
but it's not though, is it? Because it's Disney.
Yeah.
But Disney aren't they doing Daredevil now? Or?
They are doing Daredevil now. Or still not officially confirmed, but they are supposedly doing Daredevil now. But there's no guarantee that it's going to be Netflix Daredevil.
Yeah.
They could literally just piss on that and start from scratch.
It's the multiverse. But the fact they've still got Charlie Cox at least makes it good. And also, I don't know, it's all rumour, so this is why we haven't got it in the news. But Mike Coulter, who plays Luke Cage, and Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones, where they did a picture together having lunch, and someone reckoned the lunch was like the studio's canteen or something like that. So they just put a picture together, like out for lunch with an old friend or some words to that effect.
I love the bit where he said, and that's why I'm not doing in the news.
Yeah.
Even though this is
but
the
it's
news.
not new. It's just it's nothing official.
Subtle news.
Yeah, it's not officially new. It's just kind of
It's a rumour.
It's rumour. Yeah, rumour. I like it. Yeah, so you never know. They might all get back together. My money's on She-Hulk because she's a lawyer, so
Maybe.
they might all link in somehow. But yeah,
Done.
#MCU.
Drop zone.
Drop zone.
That's right. It's time for the Drop Zone, backed by popular demand, where we have a look at the latest trailers that are out and give our opinion, maybe a score out of 10. So first up, we have Prey. That's right, we pray.
Not that kind of prey. This Prey is set in the Comanche Nation 300 years ago and is the story of a young woman, Naru, a fierce and highly skilled warrior. She has been raised in the shadow of some of the most legendary hunters who roam the Great Plains. So when danger threatens a camp, she sets out to protect her people. The prey she stalks and ultimately confronts turns out to be a highly evolved alien predator, yep, one of those, with a technically advanced arsenal, resulting in a vicious and terrifying showdown between two adversaries. It will be available to stream on Hulu August 5th, 2022.
Cool. Let's give it a watch.
Hit it!
So there you have it, gentlemen. Prey.
Well, I will say first impressions are good. It looks better than some of the other Predator knockoffs we've seen over the years.
It looks better than pretty much all of the other Predator films that we've seen over the last few years.
After Danny Glover.
Yeah. I'm excited about what that could be. I still have a few issues about Predator attacking people with bows and arrows and machetes and all that kind of stuff when he's taken down squads of commandos with.
I'm sure we talked
machine
about this
guns.
before.
I know,
Isn't there
yeah.
a rule that they have to
there's
use certain
I'm sure I
weapons or
remember
something?
something in the bunker in. Is it? I can't remember if it's Alien versus. Which one's got Lance Henriksen in? Is that the Alien versus Predator? I'm sure there's.
Might
I'm sure
be.
it's
But
that one.
there's about three of them.
When they go down into the like temple, whatever you want to call it. There's something about they hunt with the weapons that are available at the time. If you see what I mean, in the period that they're in, I'm sure
And the little laser sights, to me, imply that he's not necessarily playing ball.
He's
But they
cheating.
have to, otherwise the other predators can come down and kill him.
And also, I think that's
I'm
a
sure.
way
I'm sure
of
that's it. I think you're
making
right.
sure people know what it is.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, it's for people to know what it is, and also to keep the budget down because he was invisible a lot of the time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Let's be honest, it's on Hulu. You know, we don't need the full suit all the time.
From
but
what
it
I've
looks
seen-
good.
But who didn't make it? They've just
Yeah.
they're the ones that have
But-
picked it up.
But from what we've seen,
less is more.
the quality looks really good. So it's not, it doesn't look
what
like
I
a cheap
actually
production.
like is it's light.
Yeah.
So a lot of the recent Predator films have been so dark, as in
Yeah.
lighting of it, not
Yeah.
not the tone.
Agree.
It's just nonsense. It's not nonsense, but you just don't see anything.
and
This looks expansive,
and she looks like quite a kick-ass little character as
Yeah.
well. So I think that's going to really do her career some good. Cool.
I think we're all in agreement there.
It's a thumbs up from me.
Yep,
Yeah.
could be a good reboot, reimagining, whatever you want to call it. So what's next, Mr. I was about to say Mr. Summers. Then what's next, Mr. Hawkins?
Next up is the School for Good and Evil.
Welcome to the School for Good and Evil, where every great fairy tale begins. Directed by Paul Feig, the School for Good and Evil follows best friends Sophie and Agatha, who find themselves on opposing sides of a modern fairy tale when they're swept away into an enchanted school where young heroes and villains are trained to protect the balance of good and evil. Based on the international best-selling book series and starring Charlize Theron, Kerry Washington, Sophie Ann Caruso, and Sophie Wiley. And it hits Netflix this September.
Let's give it a watch.
Nah. Harry Potter meets Once Upon a Time.
Harry
Yeah.
Potter meets Descendants is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Harry Potter meets anything. It's just you name another slightly off-kilter fairy tale story, and
But it
you've got
definitely
that.
had that Harry Potter vibe to it as well.
Yeah.
I just wish they'd make Fables the comic series, which is what Once Upon a Time kind of ripped off, but did it good. But Fables was very much like Once Upon a Time with all the characters around nowadays and stuff. But no, it was.
I think for what it was, it looked alright. It's just
I think there might be some younger girls that are enjoying this show, and it'll be a bit
Yeah,
edgy.
I don't think this is going to be pitched for.
This is your new.
the older
This is your
market.
new
Tweens.
Charmed Riverdale kind of market.
Quite possibly,
I think.
yeah.
But it looked good for what it is.
Production looks
but-
okay in the
Let's
50
see it.
seconds we saw.
Yeah, let's see how long they can twist that out, though.
right. Moving on. I believe the next one is Blasted.
Bros Before UFOs. This sci-fi comedy is inspired by the Norwegian UFO phenomenon. Former childhood friends and local laser tag duo Sebastian and Mikkel reconnect later in life for the ultimate bachelor party that gets invaded by aliens. To defeat the aliens, they need to rekindle their friendship and then save everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, Edgar Wright's greatest hits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think I was going to say the Cornetto quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They even had the seatbelt bits in the film.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks good. It looks like it's funny, but it's obviously they've done a Paul Hogan, haven't they? Where they've just took someone else's act and done it in a different country and hope no one notices.
yeah.
Like, yeah, Paul Hogan, Crocodile Dundee just did the Benny Hill show in Australia, like literally frame by frame, and no one knew because they didn't have the internet in those days. But yeah, we know Blasted. We smell what you're doing, but I'll probably watch it.
I think I'll watch it as well.
but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're a bit cheeky.
Yep.
A
Nothing
bit
new.
cheeky. We admire your cheekiness, which will let us watch it and see. But you have pretty much just put all of the Cornetto trilogy, including some of the same sound effects. It sounded like
Yeah.
between the
And
world's
the special
End
effects
Hot
for the
Fuzz.
eyes.
Yeah.
Right. So, next up on the drop zone, just giving Brett some time to finish his Diet Coke. Other soft drinks are available. Troll.
Deep inside the mountains of Dovra, something gigantic awakens after being trapped for 1,000 years, destroying everything in its path. The creature is fast approaching the capital of Norway. But how do you stop something you thought only existed in Norwegian folklore? Troll, from the director of Roll Uthag, is coming soon to Netflix. I like the bit where the eye opened. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
quite
that
a
was
unique
good.
shot. I like that, and it looked good. It looked troll-like. It didn't suddenly look like a green screen man superimposed over something else.
See, I like stuff
trolls.
like this, so I'm
Well, you're what's
I'm
the
keenly
word?
interested in this one.
You like your folklore stuff.
I do.
Your Fortini stuff. Is that the right word?
Yeah, that would do. Just you didn't really need the E at the end. Just 14 would have sufficed.
Yeah, but you're a Fortini.
14. I'll go with that. Yeah, I mean, we didn't get much. It's a teaser. It's only, probably about 30 seconds worth.
Yeah.
But I'm liking the look of that.
Weren't there similar films not so long ago?
There's loads of troll films.
Yeah.
Well, they did the trolls,
It's-
and they were in a fence, weren't they? And they got it out the fence, and
No, that
she
was
took it home.
elves.
Oh, was that elves?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's one I
No,
was
but there's
thinking
been
of.
like troll hunters and
Yeah, there's
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there's a
Troll-
lot of
Trolls did
It's
a world
big,
tour
It's
and
big in
sung a lot of-
Scandinavia.
Yeah,
It's not a
Yeah.
small thing.
They
But
did a world tour and sung loads of songs as well.
No, I just wasn't sure whether it was connected to the same universe as it was, or by the same makers or not. Yeah, you're right. It's not much to go on, but it looks okay from what I can see.
Yeah.
As long as
Go-
Matthew Broderick doesn't turn up to save the day from this big beast.
Yeah, especially if he's driving.
Yeah, don't.
I just wanted that bit with I just wanted that bit with where she went Papa and he just turned around and went Nicole. But yeah, this will be further down my list, but it's still on my watch list.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to something that Brett is very, very excited about. 1899.
A visually stunning odyssey where nothing is as it seems. The makers of the internationally acclaimed series Dark take us to the year 1899 aboard the Caballeros. What is lost will be found. Hit it.
okay, so we've got weird symbols, some sort of jelly-like substance.
Reminded me of a mix between Titanic and Clive Barker.
Yeah.
Not Hellraiser, more of his other stuff.
Yeah. But Dark was an amazing series and is in my probably top 10 series of all time. And if you haven't seen it, all 3 seasons are on Netflix. Get a notepad and dive in, because you will need one. Everyone laughs when I say that, but by the time you get to the 3rd series, you need to have written a lot of stuff down.
Yeah.
And we all know that you can't
Yeah.
watch a film and enjoy it unless you need a notepad.
Yep. And interestingly, though, the triangle stuff was in Dark as well. So I don't know.
I just thought that had something to do with Bermuda Triangle because they're on a boat. Is that not what it's about?
Well, we don't know.
Don't know.
That is all
Oh,
we
it's
know.
just
That
when you
is,
said
that is
I haven't
literally all we
watched
know.
Dark, you see. So is it?
No, that's set in this. That's a German town that's been.
Well, it's got like a weird tunnel, isn't it? You
Yeah.
should watch it, Paul. You'll love it.
Maybe I
But
will.
watch it with the subtitles, not with the
Yeah,
dubbing.
yeah. Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying. And to our listeners, you lose a little bit sometimes with the subtitles. But I'm sure the triangle thing was in Dark.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's not
cool.
not
Right,
for
right,
now.
right.
But no, it's not for now, and there's no point guessing because we don't know enough about it. But this is my pick. This is my jukebox jury gold record or whatever it was back in the day. I think this is going to be the one people are like, "Oh my god, have you watched that?" Or will do because it will gain steam and momentum.
When's it come out?
Literally, that is all we've got at the moment.
All right, because it will be interesting to see what comes out at the same time. Because obviously we've got the likes of Lord of the Rings and the other one, Game of Thrones prequel coming up soon.
No one cares.
Well, I'm just saying if they're competing against each other. Anyway, let's move on to the last thing on the drop zone tonight. The one we were talking about the other week and the types of films or series that we want to be good. There's something about them. And for me, Resident Evil is one of those things.
The Umbrella Corporation is going to change the world. It will arrive on Netflix July 14th, 2022.
So I think they've managed to keep a lot more of the game feel to this than some of the films did.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Even the big bosses and big bads, as it were. There does seem to be that big kind of game feel. I was watching that thinking, I'm quite impressed. I'm more excited about that than any of the film trailers for the last 8 films or whatever it was. That looks all right.
I like the look of it, but I'm like, do I need another virus that turns people into zombies to watch?
Not just people.
Well, anything.
Beasts by looks of it as well. Hence why, yeah, as I said, some of the game feel where it's...
It looked like someone went to Pleasantville or whatever it's called.
And just drop the T virus.
Yeah.
And then Anakin Skywalker walk up at the end. But it looks really good. But I don't know if I'm zombied out yet, and I know they're not quite zombies, and we'll get technical.
They're as good as.
But you know, because The Walking Dead ended up boring me. Z Nation was good. I like that because that was a little bit more tongue in cheek, and you could have a laugh with that. Even when it was serious, it was still a little bit like Scream. But I probably will watch it at some point. And again, it'll be on the list, but maybe a bit further down because it looks amazing. But I just don't know if I want to watch a bunch of people run away from zombies again.
I don't think, but from looking at that, it didn't look like that. It looked like they were even the set pieces from the games with that old woman doing a little
you got
thing.
the dog as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably watch the first one and go from there. But yeah, it does look good, and it looks a lot better than some of the films ended up.
And not long to wait.
No,
5 weeks.
July the 14th.
I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. with that fucking voice in my head.
Silencio.
So as we heard in the cold open, many films acquire a cult status, but not all of them merit that honour. In the years since its original 1984 release, Repo Man has acquired that status and is deserving of it. Mostly ignored during its theatrical run, it has since developed a devoted following among movie fans and punk fans alike. Directed by Alex Cox, starring Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton, it follows frustrated punk rocker Otto, who quits his supermarket job after punching a co-worker and is later dumped by his girlfriend at a party. Wandering the streets in frustration, he is tricked into jacking a car by a repo agent. After discovering his parents have donated his college fund to a TV evangelist, he joins the repossession agency Helping Hand Acceptance Corporation as an apprentice repo man. Is it sci-fi, satire, horror, a road movie? It's none of these and all of these, but before we get into the nuts and bolts, let's look at our experience of this film. Had we seen it before? Anyone?
A long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
I remember it being like one of those videos we got out. All I remember is the double denim Emilio Estevez drawing with his arms crossed and a white t-shirt, and it says Repo Man. And then about the same time, Remo came out as well, Unarmed and Dangerous, and it got confusing because they were kind of the same word. And I think at one point I wanted to get the other one out and ended up with Remo again because like I'd written it down wrong or someone had picked up the wrong one or I'd got confused. But I didn't remember a lot of it, if I'm honest. I just remember it being, as I remember what I was talking about earlier on, it's a car like Tron. That's all I could remember. I remember like a glowing car, sort of Tron-like. I remember random bits of like shooting and chasing, but not all the weirdness. I didn't remember the weirdness.
I think this one just passed me by. Obviously, when we talked about Repo Men or Repo a few weeks ago, in my head it was later films with body parts involved and all this kind of stuff. Repo Man, Men, just completely passed me by in the 80s.
For me, it's one of those films that's just it was always knocking about in the early 90s. I think just when I got cable was being rolled out around that sort of time, so we finally got Sky Movies, and it was just one of those films that was always on. And I'm certain it's like been on like what was the equivalent of ITV4 back in the day. It's like late night film. So I'd always seen bits of it.
Channel 4.
Well, yeah, but Bravo, stuff like that.
So, I know what you mean.
The early late 90s, early 2000s.
It was Premiere
Yeah, something
on
like
the
that.
old Rediffusion film channels. Yeah, no, you're right.
Exactly. So it's one of those that's always knocking about. I'd seen bits of it here and there. I was always more interested in the soundtrack than the actual film itself, which is probably, and that's what I remember more about it up until last week when I did a rewatch. It's the soundtrack that I think, I remember that. That's why I know what this film is more than the actual, like you said. I remember the glowing car and the weirdness. But if you'd have asked me a couple of weeks ago to quote it or what's it about, I'd have gone, no, I know I've seen it, but I don't remember it. So yeah.
One of the things that we'll talk about, if you wanted to go and check out one of our previous bonus episodes, now that's what Cult Faction calls Film Soundtracks Volume 1, we go into the soundtrack of Repo Man quite a bit, because the soundtrack actually has an interesting story to the success of the film.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, I don't remember it now, but it's literally the film, as the cold open says, didn't get it got a theatrical release. It wasn't very well received by the public. The critics loved it, but public-wise, it wasn't well released. Then the soundtrack came out on, I think it was EMI. I might be wrong, but it came out on EMI and gained following there, and that's when people went back to the film because of the film's soundtrack. So you've got Black Flag, you've got Iggy Pop, other punk bands I can't remember now.
Circle Jerks,
That's
Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah, so you've got a lot of the sort of proper New York, proper American punk, not UK punk. So when I think it's probably important to say when we're talking about punk here, we're not talking Sex Pistols punk. We're talking
this is LA hardcore punk scene.
5-6 years later,
CBGB's
punk had ended
thing
over here by this point, really. I think.
Yeah.
Although Clash was still knocking about and stuff like that.
It was on its way out,
but it was certainly And then the sort of New York punk scene took over. And I'm no fan of punk. I'm no aficionado, I should say. So I don't know, whether Black Flag, New York punk, LA punk, or whatever. But it's still that same style of music anyway. So it was the soundtrack that gave it its.
Yeah, it made that much money on the soundtrack. They were like, we should put the film out again.
Yeah.
And then everyone was like, that's what it was. And all went to see it. And to this date, it's still rated 98% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Cool. Really?
Which apparently is a big thing.
Wow. Wow. That's impressive.
So is this Paul's Princess Bride moment?
No, because Brett liked a lot of Princess Bride, even though he didn't seem like it when he was talking.
Okay. Start with positives then. Is there anything in this film stands out that you liked?
So I made a lot of points about it that I thought were interesting, and I wasn't sure whether it was interesting because I couldn't afford a budget or just because it was just genuinely interesting and good points. And there were nice little touches. And maybe I missed a subtle plot that I completely didn't get, or random things that I didn't pick up on when I watched it. So you'll have to excuse me, being a new watcher of this film. But I like the generic labeling of items.
Yeah, that was one of my favourites.
Yeah,
the satire, which we're almost. I don't want to nick your bit. Go on. No.
So just to explain to people that potentially haven't seen it. So if they want a beer, someone say, "Oh, get me a beer from the fridge." So Emilio Estevez will go to the fridge and pick out a can with just a white label with beer on. He'll come back and then she may be drinking champagne out of a bottle of, which literally says champagne. This carries on through the film. Now, it's not for every item. So they'll go to a shop and there'll be branded items like London Dry Gin and all this kind of stuff. So it's obviously done for a reason. And I might have completely missed it. But I just thought, hold on, there's a subplot or there's something here.
Well, so that's kind of, it's about the consumerism and the blandness of consumerism. So like he's eating out of a tin and it just says meat flavored food, I think.
Yeah.
So it's all about.
But I probably get that more but I wasn't sure whether there was a specific reason because the shops have all the labels.
Maybe they're poor. Maybe
But
that's what the poor people
that's
get.
What,
But I
that's
think
what
it's
what
part
I
of the
thought was
satire
missing.
thing.
It's satire on the blandness of just everything being generic now. You know, or not to say now because it's almost we're going
But why
the polar opposite.
But that's what
so I think 1984, it's all homogenized.
Cold War.
Don't get me wrong,
paranoia.
thrown
I
at you.
completely understand that.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that every shop had a store full of branded stuff.
But do you know what's even scarier?
Yeah, but
if you
so
go to Tesco's now, they do that.
they have those labels. Well, this is the funny thing.
And
So
other brands.
you the first one you mentioned was beer. That actual beer existed.
Right.
Of all those food props,
But that's the thing. When I first saw that, I thought, "Oh, that's a cool brand." But
that
then it
was
just- then it
there
just
was a
kept happening
particular
throughout the
chain of
film.
stores that brought out. I think they called it Blue Labels. They brought out Blue Label packaging. It's an American store, so I don't know what it, and I can't remember now. Rouse or Roche or something like that. So all the other ones, so like they're eating in the when the government agents are in the back of the van, they're all eating what looks like Doritos.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
exist. That was made for the film. The like London Dry Gin, which just says London Dry Gin on it, that was made for the film. But the beer is actually they went to that local branch of Roche or whatever it was, and actually just because it looked the same, they brought that they used that beer. But yeah, it's just like the blandness of consumerism.
Right, cool.
But it's never explicitly stated in the film. But
No, I just thought it was a nice touch, and there was
reason
obviously
you've got-
something that they wanted to bring to the attention.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
But it's only on the products that are important to the film's development.
Yeah.
So like his food, because obviously it's quite a long lingering shot on the back at the back of the liquor store. That's why those ones are. But then if you look in the supermarket at the start, with the exception of the tins that they're stacking, the rest of it is just normal stuff. It's only when it's like prominently displayed in the film do you see the Blue Label stuff.
Yep. Right, so that's one of the things that stood out for me that I thought, oh, that's quite a nice touch. You know, but because let's be honest.
That almost reminded me of the whole film in general. Kind of reminds me a bit of They Live in that respect of what it's trying to say.
So let's be honest. I want to say that this is a bit hit and miss in many different ways. We're not all going to say this is.
Yeah, it's not all
right.
I mean,
okay, cool.
the thing is, a lot of it was fresh ideas that they were trying in 1984 that then other people took. And like I'd say, They Live. You wouldn't have had They Live without this, but They Live probably done some of it a lot better.
Yeah.
But you still needed that. This is the one that got the ball rolling, or people thinking about it. And the bit that surprised me, and I don't think I ever knew, was that it was pretty much Mike Nesmith from the Monkees that made this happen.
He fronted up the money, didn't he?
He fronted up the money and kind of got the executive producer thing, and he popped up on the telly when they're in the office, and then I spotted him. He was the rabbi bloke at the end that tried to get near the car. So,
was he?
Yeah, he doesn't speak, but he's just like he's the rabbi. We know when all the different religious people, he's the rabbi one who's just really tall. But I kind of wanted him just to have his hat on, but he had the rabbi thing on. But yeah, so the Monkees were still going.
I also liked, again, the mix of styles. So it was almost, yes, it was in the 80s, but it was kind of mash-up pop, rock, punk culture as well. So even the fact there was one scene, I can't remember exactly where it came in the film, somewhere near the start, after he'd lost his job and it's raining. Emilio Estevez is just sat outside in the rain with a little Asian hat on. And I just thought, that's so cool. But he rocks it well. No rhyme or reason for him wearing it. Doesn't go with anything, to do with it. Maybe it's like part of the culture at the time, or some dress fad. Didn't make any sense to anything
he ditches
else.
it as soon as he gets off the bus.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense to anything else in the film. But I just kind of thought that almost has a kind of a 2024 or 2042 Blade Runner type feel about it. It's just so surreal. But maybe at the time, again, that was I kind of put myself in those shoes, and actually, I was a bit of a geek. So chances are, if there was an Asian hat around, I didn't have an umbrella, I'd probably just shove it on my head and go and sit outside with a mate drinking beer. But yeah, I kind of like that. There was. Am I just carrying on talking?
Carry on.
Yeah, there you go. It's all good.
I think some of the stuff that I thought they started off in some part. I don't want to diss it too much. There were good qualities, and I liked the idea. And I put down in some of my notes. I didn't have a notepad because whatever. But
21st century and all that.
But I made notes on
Buy a laptop
on my iPhone. There were a few early touches of. I mean, I looked at it and I thought there's reminiscence of Anchorman in some of these scenes. You know how the Repo Men have a code, how they act to some of the other gangs.
Well, you say they have a code. It's only Harry.
Yeah.
It's his code.
Yeah, but that's my point. There's certain characters within the Repo Men. They have another gang that they're battling off against. There's almost this camaraderie. There's some comedy, and I was there going, yeah, this is kind. Because it's odd watching it as well, because you don't know whether it's a comedy where it's trying to be a serious gangs in New York, or not gangs in New York, Bronx.
Yeah, Warriors Wanderers type thing. Yeah.
And I just thought, if they really hammed this up, this could be Anchorman in the 80s, but for Repo Man.
Yeah.
They didn't do it that way. And it was almost, is it serious or is it tongue-in-cheek or is it just bad acting? I'm confused for a lot of this film, if I'm completely honest. But I like some of the Anchorman type touches, even though it was like 20-something years before that.
I was still convinced that there's no way he would have got into a punk thing with that earring and that white t-shirt.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things. So before, let's not get onto that yet.
Okay.
There's some nice little touches I liked about it. So like when he gets dumped by his girlfriend, or not dumped, but he storms off after he comes in, find her.
He literally gets
else.
a beer, comes back, and she's sleeping with another guy.
So he goes off, and
we all hate it when that happens.
He needs to be a bit quicker going to that fridge.
Black Flag playing in the background. It's TV party is playing in the background, and then it cuts to him walking, and he's then singing that song. It's just a nice little touch that it keeps that, because it makes the soundtrack part of the film, if you see what I mean. And that wasn't something we saw a lot of in the 80s. I mean, you see it a lot more. I mean, Tarantino done it in pretty much every one of his films.
Yeah,
yeah. There's a really cool bit as well, because it's the circle jerks that playing at the party, then later on they're graffitied on the wall, and stuff like that. And his mate, I forgot the geeky bloke, he ended up being in the circle jerks.
I think that's the other thing I put as well, is the mashup of different storylines and characters seems very Tarantino as well. Even the gold boot, or trunk of a car,
Yeah, which is a direct reference to. I've forgotten now. I should have written it down. An older film, not The Long Kiss, something like that though. Kiss Goodnight, a film noir sort of early film where there's like a MacGuffin in the boot and they're all after it. So it's that.
Well, it became the
trope.
Briefcase in Pulp Fiction, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's you can almost see a linear line of reference all the way back through those types of films.
I thought it was quite lynching as well, even though it probably would have been for him that she had a metal hand.
Yeah,
for no reason, not explained.
Yeah,
it's like, can I touch your metal hand? And I was just like, I could just see that was some weird music in a David Lynch
and
film.
then she starts licking it.
Yeah.
Even with the slime coming off.
Yeah.
Saliva rather, not slime. After they've done amyl nitrates as well. It just came out of nowhere. It's like hello.
Well, it was 1984.
I'm not going to round it off. Actually, I'm going to give you, but because there's some stuff that I want to talk about that I didn't potentially like, but I give you guys opportunity to speak as well.
Yeah, well, the only other main thing I want to pull out that strikes me as like worthy of a mention thing. I like the fact that it's showing LA in a different light. So you're not seeing even films of that era when they would go and leave a car somewhere and they go, "Oh, you look after my car," whatever.
Okay, yeah.
You were still seeing the brighter side of Hollywood in the background. You were still seeing the glamour, if you like.
Yeah.
But there's no glamour in this film whatsoever. The streets they're driving are overgrown with weeds and it's condemned buildings,
Rubbish everywhere.
all
Bodies
that.
on the streets.
It's not
Red, white, and blue.
It's not the typical view you get of Hollywood. And like I say, even when films are trying to portray that, they've literally just gone round the corner and found a building that looks a bit manky, and they've just said parking it here. But you can still see, I don't know. I can't think of a famous LA building now off the top of my head, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, because as well, I kind of spotted it and I had to look it up. But one of the buildings they go past at one point is the Morrison Hotel from the Doors album cover.
Oh yeah,
that's one of the buildings. I think it's a tattoo parlor and it's next door to it or something. But it's not. I don't think it is. I think it was a bit mashed up at that point. It's been restored now and they've done it all up again to look like it. But I think at that point it was all a bit mashed up and stuff. I think it was like maybe a Hard Rock Cafe or something like that. But anyway, it's something, whatever it was when they sat in the window and done it without permission, that's on, and it's in there because they wanted to put that in because it's all the landmarks. And I think there's a lot of stuff like that we wouldn't even know because we're not from LA.
Yeah,
it's like us doing a film about Southampton. We go, make sure that can be a reference to that club or that bar we went to, and whatever. We would know, but the people there would go, "Oh my God, look, there's a flyer for that," or that post box there, or whatever was where that happened. And I think there's a lot of that probably other people will be really excited about, which we
don't
care about. Yeah, really.
Okay.
So it was good for that sort of thing. Like you say, it's got that, it's almost urban by urban for urban. It's got that sort of street
that sounded
thing.
really deep.
Yeah, well, it's it's speaking to
or
those
maybe
people.
something Rodney Trotter would say.
And he was those people. The director whose name's just going out my head, Alex Cox. He was one of those. He went to those things. He was a Repo Man. He did live on the street. Like
he
that,
was a Repo Man, yeah.
And it's kind of. And a lot of the people in it were of that scene, weren't they, as well? I mean, you had Matey from the Nerdy Mate, and some of the other guys were in sort of bands or around that scene, or sort of in music in a messed up way. A lot of them. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good.
So it's time to rip it apart.
Go on then, Paul.
No, I don't want to rip it apart.
You're allowed to rip it apart?
No, I don't want to rip it apart because... I must admit, I watched it and I felt confused because actually I think there's a storyline in there that is a bit cool. I almost felt, though, I was watching a film that was being directed by 3 different directors. So, when you go and watch Anchorman, you can tell from the get-go that it's trying to be, tongue-in-cheek, piss-take, all this kind of stuff. With this, I genuinely wasn't sure whether this was trying to be... not serious is the wrong word, but there's a serious storyline in there. And I got confused with some of the acting as well, or some not the acting, but how they portrayed like the gang. Let's talk about the criminals in this, okay?
Yeah. So the 3.
Yeah. So these guys are effing and jeffing. They're killing people, but at the same time, every now and again, they'll be speaking like they're in Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Yeah, so my take on those is that they're there to give a paint-by-numbers view of what punk was in the 80s, if that makes sense. So they're there for the audience's benefit, or they're portrayed that way for the audience's benefit as a paint by numbers, because you got the guy that's a bit thick,
you had all the different styles, right? You had the Mohawk guy.
Yeah, that's the one. The one
who goes,
do this, that guy.
Yeah.
And then you've got the one who's slightly more with it. I mean, it's like and
then you got the random English girl.
Yeah, but there's a line, I can't remember exactly what it is. But it's, let's go and do some crimes, and he
Let's
goes,
go do those crimes. I wrote that
and
down.
he goes, yeah,
'Cause
let's go and have
talk-
sushi and not pay for it. It's like they're just there to satisfy what corporate America, middle America, or whatever you want to call it, thought of the punk generation.
They're the guy on the bus in Star Trek 4.
Yeah, the guy on the tube in American Wealth in London.
Which is fine if it was kept the whole kind of thing the same vibe through it. But one shot they're like all, as I said, swearing into the hill, shooting people, and then out of nowhere it'll be, oh gee boss, oh gee and they'll be like talking from the 1950s, and like I just didn't get it.
I think it's playing those sort of.
It's playing the stereotypes.
Those stereotype, almost like
it's not playing a stereotype.
Yeah,
is
but
it?
it is. It's the gang. It's Rebel Without a Cause, isn't it? They're the gang that he was in or he wants to join, but he's kind of not cool enough, or he thought he was in, but then he wasn't. And
I meant the gang keeps saying these stuff. That they keep chopping their
that's
dialogue.
The point. That's what I mean. But that's what they're there for.
But in most of those films, that would have been like it might even be dialogue from different things, like a Rebel Without a Cause or
it was
Wild
just
Ones.
odd.
It's definitely odd.
It's supposed to be.
Whoa, Jesus!
No, but you're not letting us. You're not listening to the point we're making.
I'm just trying to finish the point. To me, if they're trying to be that, then give them that kind of dialogue the whole way through. Not just chop and change, because as a watcher, you're confused. You're not sure whether it's just shit script writing or what. Or it's just, it just felt really piecemeal. That's what I'm saying. It's almost like three different directors. One of them is trying to make it hard and gritty. One of them then says, oh, come on, let's go do some crimes, George. It's like... what's your point
that's
here?
what I'm saying. That is
not your point. I mean,
that's what
point.
the director's point is that these three characters represent the whole myriad of what Middle America thought the punk generation was. That's why they don't speak in. They don't have one tone of voice. They don't have one particular narrative. Narrative's not the right word. They don't have one particular style. It's all of them and none of them.
Fine. I just found it weird. Give them one style, and I get the point. Don't make them gritty 1 second, and then G George the next minute. And also, some of it was just the weird mannerisms between it. I mean, the drugstore shootout. I mean, it wasn't funny enough to be funny. It certainly wasn't dark or gruesome enough to be gritty, and because of that, it just felt wasted. If it's a funny film, and if you're trying to be funny, make it funny. If you're trying, to me, it was like, what is the scene? It's not funny. It's not clever. I got nothing out of that scene.
No, I'm articulating my response.
I'm just trying to.
And by the way, this isn't me v the film.
No, it's good.
I'm just explaining to you. For a lot of this film, as I mentioned, I found it confusing to watch because it didn't come across funny, it didn't come across gory, it didn't come across anything. It was a juxtaposition of all of that, and I get that. But that's why I didn't find it satisfying. So I completely understand that's what he was setting out to do or whatever. But because there was this to and fro, there was a lot of it where I thought, is this just a shit script? Is it just because I don't have budget? Is because some of these actors are developing?
There was a bit of ad-lib as well, wasn't there?
There's a lot of ad-lib.
Especially from
a lot of those scenes. So like the drugstore shoot. No, it's not. It's a liquor store. Whatever it is. The shootout.
I just said drugstore. Yeah.
And the there's a couple of other scenes similar to that. And again, it's kind of portraying that the punk ethos kind of don't care, move on to the next thing, which is kind of what those characters, the gang set out to do, and what Emilio Estevez's character is trying to break away from, but he still has that attitude. So it's the reason those scenes are like that is that kind of don't care attitude. So it is a funny scene, but it's not outrageously funny. It's not even comically funny. It's more of a kind of a look at how people with that ethos treated treated every scenario they found themselves in. It's just like, oh, yeah, whatever, I'll just move on to the next. I'm not making sense, but that's why it plays the way it does. Like he gets shot and he says something like, I'm a product of the system or whatever.
Society made me what I am.
Yeah, so no, you're just a suburban punk or something. And then he just gets up and walks away. It's that kind
He's
of...
dead.
No, Emilio Estevez gets up and walk away. It's that kind of blasé attitude. That's it. And that's why that scene plays the way it does.
No, I didn't mind that bit because that was almost Emilio Estevez saying, fuck you guys. I wanted to join the gang. I've gotten a great job being a repo man now. You're a waster.
But it's
society didn't make you that way.
It's almost that sort of nihilism of it all as well, because you get it as well later on.
That's the word I was looking for.
You get it later on with the robot hand lady when the punk guy, when he looks in the boot, and then she's like, it happens sometimes. People just explode, natural causes. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But to them, it's just like, yeah, it's another one. Off we go, and nothing matters in Reagan's America anymore. You just need to move on to the next. Whatever happens,
that's
just
it.
Move on to the next thing.
And that's why that shootout scene plays out the way it does.
And it's almost, to be fair, if we're going to get topical, I mean, look at all the stuff that's happening over there now with the shootings and stuff, and it's just another one, and it's just another one, and they've not learned, and maybe that's what it's trying to. It was trying to tell us back in 1994.
But I just took that as she was saying that and referring to spontaneous combustion because that was big in the 80s.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Yeah,
it was.
Well, it was.
Yeah,
that was the thing. I remember watching many shows.
I remember being worried about spontaneous human combustion. It was something I genuinely
feared.
feared.
Near the plugs.
I remember the picture. There's like a bit of a leg, wasn't there? And
that's right. A grainy black and white picture, just leg by a chair. So I think. So on that point about the way the film plays, if you go into this film expecting a kind of straight narrative, you're going to be disappointed, or you're just not going to enjoy the film. Kind of because everything happens in a chronological order, but it doesn't follow the storytelling narrative that we normally see from Hollywood films. Like you said, it's almost 3. Maybe 4, I forget now, but like 3 or 4 separate narratives that are all kind of come to intersect at certain points and then carry on, which is what Miller, the guy, the kind of, I think he's a mechanic or whatever he does at the repo yard. He doesn't repo the cars because he can't drive. He gets the bus everywhere.
Yeah, he doesn't drive because it makes you stupid.
Yeah, so he almost kind of
that line.
Yeah, he almost signposts it in that speech that he's giving when he's burning the stuff in the oil can. It's like he pretty much he talks about coincidence and stuff. Have you ever thought about something? Blah blah blah. I mean, the UFO community or the alien community would call it synchronicity now. I don't think it was called it back then, but it's all these little different things happen for a reason, or there's a connection somewhere, and that's kind of what's this film is.
But again, I don't mind that. I don't mind his little monologue thing because it made sense. He's the weird, wacky dude.
Yeah, Tracy Walter, who's been the weird, wacky dude in nearly everything.
Yeah, everything he's been in has been a weird, wacky dude.
Yeah. But he stayed to it. Whereas I just felt like a lot of them were kind of mixing and mashing between lots of different personalities, and it was just weird to watch. Have one of the gang that is stupid, fine. Have one of the gang that's a bit deep, like. Or does the big old monologues at the end of his life or whatever, and doesn't say anything like Vinnie Jones, whatever. But don't have them chop and change from one scene to another because it's just crap for a watcher perspective.
So you talk about the punk gang or the repo
punk gang?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I think out of all of them, they were the ones that chopped and changed too much for me to even care about anything to do with them, and I didn't.
I don't think you're supposed to care about them.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, but
they are throwaway characters that just exist to.
but they didn't have to be. It is my point. It is that they could have actually been not like Boys in the Hood or anything like that, but there could have been that attachment to Emilio Estevez, and they could play that out. But where the dialogue was just so, as I said, Tom and Jerry-ish for a lot of it, I just felt that lost a little bit for me.
But yeah, I know what you mean. But I think a lot of it, because like when he meets him, he's like, "Hey, you just got out of prison." He's like, "Yeah, I'm back out of prison," and it is it's the expected dialogue that
No, that was fine.
white middle class America would expect to hear from
I
some.
didn't have a
punks.
problem
Like,
with that.
yeah, I know what you mean.
That
and then
was
it
just-
goes.
Yeah, that was fine. That was like, hey, bro, yeah, Misty, bro, all
Yeah,
that
and
kind
then
of shit.
they kind of go off at a tangent. And
Yeah.
they are. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, no, you're right. You are right.
And yeah, as I
but
said, I just found the punk gang and their chopping and changing from dialogue really confusing. I mean, the other bit is like, I just thinking maybe we should settle down and have babies now. It's like what?
Well, maybe that's insulting the punks. Maybe that's saying like, maybe that's a dig at the punks. Like you're all sort of like, yeah, screw the world or anarchy and whatever else. And then it's like, should we just settle down and have some babies? And it's like maybe that's a
Don't
comment
go wrong.
on
It was
the
just-
punk dream.
It's not the actual sentence, it's the way he said it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As opposed to saying, hey, let's. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of these guys went to RADA.
Yeah.
I think most of them went to the off license.
But again, if it's being written, if there's a script, it's the script that's telling them to do that,
Yeah.
or it's the director that's saying monologue this, but or ad lib this. But the way he's ad libbing it is obviously not him, because he's not from the 50s. So yeah, it just felt a bit detached, a bit weird, that punk gang, and the fact that the girl had an English. So you've almost got a mix of everything.
Yeah, but you need an English girl because it's punk.
Yeah. And also
Nancy.
Emilio Estevez and the sci-fi girl who's into it. I just found that really odd.
Yeah,
minute.
It's kind of almost attempted rape was interesting. You wouldn't get that anymore.
Well, again, it wasn't funny enough to be funny.
But
I was going
it
to say it wasn't dark enough to be dark. I absolutely don't want to say that. But it was just really odd because, again, it was the whole relationship. She's just screaming at him and like...
And then he just, at the end, he's like,
what
about a relationship? What the hell, or whatever it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But next minute, he says, oh, there's lots of girls that would pay to sleep with me. And she instantly changes it. Oh, you got 5 minutes, let's go into the back of your car. Show me the back of your car. It just was weird. It wasn't funny.
It's the James Dean thing, isn't it?
But it wasn't cool. She wasn't... He wasn't
I know,
cool enough.
but he's not
she
cool.
She wasn't acting... Or
Yeah,
not
but
acting,
but in any one of those films, that's normally what will happen when it be like, hey, baby,
so
okay.
fine, play it in a comedy way. But it was lacking
I think
comedy.
it was more. I see. I think it was more just like in a satirical manner rather than a like. Oh, we're
What
gonna.
did you want? Did you want it to suddenly sort of speed up Benny Hill style when they run back into the car?
It just wasn't funny. It looked like it was really badly scripted, as opposed to, you know what, I'm going to make this so that Emilio Estevez comes across as being a complete twat. She's a bit all over the place, but hey, she sees something about it. There's going to be a bit of eyes, but it wasn't. It was, oh, you're a bit of an ass. Oh, but lots of girls would pay to sleep with me. Oh, okay, let's go in the back of your car.
We got 10 minutes. Yeah, again, it's that nihilistic thing of like, well, we don't know what's going to happen as well. Remember, everyone's fearing they're going to
just throw in a big word and explain
but everyone,
away a
you got to
shit
remember,
bit of the
in
film.
1984, everyone thought they were going to die the next day from like.
But again,
the
you've
Russians.
just read that off Google, which is fine.
No, I'm not.
But
I'm not on Google.
But my point is that the girl
Bing.
doesn't come across like she's not acting in any way, shape, or form. There's no give or take. There's no lead up. There's no build up. There's no comedy. There's nothing.
Such is life sometimes.
But that's what, if you're going to make it a comedy, make it a comedy. If it's going to be quippy and satirical, or make it quippy and satirical.
Loads of quips. I think.
But it wasn't. It was nothing there. It's just odd. It wasn't funny. It wasn't dark. It looked badly scripted, and I'm sure it's done in a certain way. But to watch it,
But then all of the relationships in that film are like that. There is no build up. There is
no one really likes each other. Do
No,
they? They're
so
all
you know,
friends by situation. Or
one of the
whatever.
things I didn't list on the when I put is it sci-fi, is it a romance? I was going to put is it a buddy movie as well, because there's a lot of scenes where it's just Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton in the car, you know, but it still, and it looks like a buddy movie at that point, like a buddy road trip type movie, but it isn't, because it's basically him lecturing Emilio Estevez. So there's all the it's
but
kind
I thought
of
a lot of the
almost
dialogue was actually
subverts-
really good,
Yeah, most of that I think he ad-libbed as well, to be fair.
which is a
Yeah.
complete shame.
Well,
But
most
a lot
Harry
of,
Dean Stanton things are him rambling on, though, aren't
Yeah.
they?
but a lot of that was good. You know, a lot of him trying to impart some wisdom. You know,
I like the other guy as well. The light.
Well, that's probably a thing we should mention, that you got all the Repo Men are beer.
Yeah.
You got Bud, you got Light, you got
Yeah.
Miller, and there's another one. I think I read somewhere that Otto was actually also a localized American beer from the 80s, but I'm not so sure that's true.
early craft beer.
Yeah,
That
quite
was the other
possibly.
weird bit as well, because they take the Mickey out of his name, and then one of them's called that anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's just like the oddness of. I don't know if he just keeps his mouth shut or what for a bit. I don't know. It's just it's just weird, and it is weird. And is it funny? I'm not sure, but it's weird, and it is sometimes those situations you find yourself in. But I just think, as we watched it, I just think we're the dude driving the car at the beginning. I think that's us in the film. And I like the bit where he's got, was it, you ever feel as if your mind has started to erode? And I think that's it as the film goes along. You know, it's that sort of, you're in that situation. What's going on? What is this about? None of this makes sense. Is it funny? Is it not? And you're just kind of, we're like that guy. And in the end, he just sort of, was it radiation? Or whatever?
Well,
he
you
just
don't really
killed
know.
over and died. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, I think that's us as we're watching the film or trying to understand life in 1984 Reagan America.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of, or he could have just
this
took
is
a
it.
load of
We
acid
got
and
an
drugs.
actor as a president. We could die at any minute. Let's just make this film as weird as you like.
You know, that the whole war games thing, I mean, we forget about it now. It wasn't so bad in this country, but there was a lot of paranoia in America.
I don't forget about it after
Until-
watching
No,
tomorrow as well.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, and Rocky IV is a few years away yet. That ended the Cold War.
Thought that was David Hasselhoff and his spangly jacket.
And that was after he helped celebrate it. But yeah, no, there was some good
So I
ones.
was going to bring up: does Emilio Estevez play a convincing punk?
No,
Not at all.
No,
in no way, shape, or form.
But then, was he supposed to?
I
Is
think
he the
was
guy
because
hanging around?
I
'Cause
think part of it is kind of making the point, because it's almost his escape.
Yeah.
From that
Boys
nihilistic,
in the
I'm
Hood
going to use that
type
word
thing.
now more often. It's the film, if anything, is his escape from that nihilistic lifestyle by getting the job, and you know, one day he's in a
Yeah.
in a sleeveless t-shirt with a lumberjack shirt wrapped around his waist and earring and whatnot. The next day he's suited and booted.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we've definitely all been there.
I never had an earring.
So, but they don't
See,
they don't punkify him enough at the
No.
beginning to
No, but-
make that.
yeah, I'd say he needs to be more punk. But my view on it was that he never fitted in with any of them. He wasn't
Yeah.
quite a punk. He wasn't quite the down and out of the Repo Men. He wasn't quite part of his family.
Well,
And to
they give his college fund to a TV evangelist.
You know, it was almost like, oh, you know, where does he fit? Where do I fit in this
Yeah, and
crazy
you kind
Reagan
of
America?
You do get that at that. So that bit where in the parking lot when they're all headbanging or moshing
Yeah.
or whatever it is,
Yeah.
he is on the periphery of that. To be fair, and then his like proper mate turns up if
Yeah.
you like, and then he gets a bit more involved. But
From
so yeah,
prison.
maybe you're right. Maybe it is.
No, but that was that's just me from looking at it, and the same as like a lot of them really. It was all the Repo guys weren't necessarily the best Repo guys. The punks weren't the best punks because some of them wanted to get married and have children, and not really, was it in that? And it was kind of all of them. I think the only genuine dude in it was was Miller. Who
Miller's the
saw
best
everything,
character, isn't
yeah,
it?
who saw everything that was going on the whole time. And then what I loved about it even more is it just took the ending from Grease.
It takes a lot from Grease.
Yeah.
Even the car chase in the reservoir, not reservoir, the
Yeah, that was most American film. They did.
Yeah.
Terminator 2 had that, didn't they? Later on.
Loads of films have got that in.
Oh no, that was a cliff. But no, but it was a bit gritty. And that was what I thought. Is that the teen drama ending? Is that kind of? Although you did see him fly around a little bit.
Although the whole thing about that chase in the reservoir or the spill off or whatever it is in the States, the thing that annoyed me most about that was when the car stops, he just gets out the car and stands in a big
about
puddle.
6 inches
It's
of
like,
water.
no one would do that.
Yeah.
It's like, just move the car forward a bit and then I'll
just don't get out of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So we don't think he makes a convincing pug then.
I don't think he's convincing any of it.
I think
He's better as a Repo Man because he doesn't care and he'll just nick them. But I don't think he fits in with any of them. And the one person he does have a relationship with, he dumps her when something better comes along at the end. Because it's like, I can't remember the exact lines. Just what about our relationship? And I'm sure it's just like, forget about it, or this is cooler, or
Yeah, I can't.
and he just runs and jumps in the car next to Miller and just flies off. So the one person he kind of had a weird connection with, he once something better came along.
Yeah, but then she was quite happy to switch the dial up on the old.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Torture
and they didn't really have a relationship. He slept with her once.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That was
then asked her for a blowjob.
And again, that is the level of the relation. That's his best relationship, and it wasn't really a relationship, or maybe.
Well, she's the one that's saying relationship.
Or maybe the bit with Bud, or the bit with Light when they were going around in the cars a little bit. But then everything Bud told him, Light, he did the opposite with Light, and then shooting the gun in the window. Just get the car.
I think once he's been given the code by Harry Dean Stanton, he then goes on to break every rule in that code.
Well, Harry Dean Stanton's the only one doing it, and and just never get near Harry Dean Stanton when he's got a baseball bat.
Yeah, I've read that.
He swung that.
Yeah, so basically the story goes that he had a real baseball bat for the scene where he's swinging the baseball bat in is it the liquor store, wherever it is, I can't remember now.
Yeah, with the Thingy brothers.
Yeah, and
I forgot their name now.
and he
Rodriguez brothers.
One of the
when they get out of the car.
Well, whatever it is, one of the actors is like, I just felt the wind of a baseball bat right close to my face. I'm not doing this scene with a real baseball bat. So they say to Harry to swap out, give you a plastic one, and they're like, I'm doing this with a real baseball bat. And there's
Harry Dean
a
Stanton
whole kind of
doesn't use fake baseball bat.
So there's a kind of argument ensues, but someone switched them whilst they were arguing. So it all worked out all right in the end. Okay, well, I think even though we are on the third run of our Spotlight series,
and
it's probably a bit late to introduce this, but we're going to do it anyway. I think we should just start giving a rating.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I was just going to say,
we need to do kind of maybe a 2-tier system where we go, let's put it in its context and then put it in its now, if that makes sense.
But I also think we should, and I don't want to come across as being the whole negative person about this. And don't get me wrong, I've only seen it once. I liked a lot of the idea about this. I genuinely did. I know I've been negative because that's what we're talking about, bring out the negatives first. But actually, there's a good few films in there. There generally is. I mean, I mentioned the whole Anchorman thing. I think there is a film about, a serious film about Repo Men and the buddying and all this kind of stuff. I think there is another, nice mix, and we've seen it in Pulp Fiction about the what's in the boot type thing, and that played really well. What's in the briefcase? And I genuinely did like how that could have twisted and turned. So I think, there's a lot of good potential in the film or films that this could have made. As a collective, I didn't buy into it. Is my point. But again, I'm watching this in 2022, not 1984, and I'm coming in it from the cold. So whilst I have brought out some negatives, because we were talking about negatives, there are some good bits in it. I just found it confusing because of all the mashups between are we serious, are we not? There's a policeman knitting. That's quite funny actually, but he's just sat there knitting. And next minute there's like a serious scene, so you're never quite sure where the film's trying to be or gauge, and that's obviously what's intended to do.
Okay.
Well, this might help. I've got the notes on what was going to be the sequel. I don't know, but it might just help a little bit.
Is this Repo Girl?
No, not Repo Chick, because it was that politically correct. No, he'd written a script for a sequel, but it was never made. But it got made into a graphic novel.
Yeah.
Called Waldo's Hawaiian Holiday, and it's got Otto, now using the name Waldo, has returned to Earth from Mars after 10 years. Now nearly 30, he adjusts to life in the mid-1990s and gets a boring job as a telemarketer. When Waldo receives a call offering a free Hawaiian vacation, he makes taking the trip his goal, but his efforts are repeatedly thwarted by bureaucracy. And then at the end of what would have been the end of the film, but at the end of the graphic novel, it is eventually revealed that these difficulties are intentional and that Los Angeles is actually an experimental self-maintaining prison constructed by Martians to contain humans. So Waldo returns to a job and never ever goes on vacation.
Yeah, that doesn't help with the film.
No.
I think it's the satiricalness of it again, though, of working yourself to death because you're just trapped there and all that sort of thing, and just you're never going to get out of the rut. You're never going to. You are what you are, I guess, that sort of thing. But that was going to be, if he'd made the sequel, that would have been the main plot line. But you never know, we might get it with Emilio Estevez a bit older. I'm sure he's after a
Is there
few
any more
offers.
Mighty Ducks that need to be made?
I'd be surprised if he connects a 30-year-old nowadays.
He'd come back a few years later.
Okay. So I think we should introduce the ratings, even though we're 3 episodes into our spotlights. Mr. Summers.
I would give it, because again, I think it means well. Does everything always hit? Not all the time, but I get what it's doing or trying to do. Was some parts of it done better by other films later on? We talked about that, They Live, but I think it deserves something for being this brave in 1984. So I would go, what are we doing out of 10?
Yeah.
I'd go 7.
Okay.
I think, because it's unique enough and has enough of its own voice, but I think certain elements might have been picked up. It needed to carry the baton it needed to crawl for others to run later. Maybe.
I like that. I like the sound of that. Mr. Hawkins?
I'm going to give it 5 out of 10 for what it is. I think if it was remade and the script was changed, it could quite easily.
If it was a different film.
No. If you take a lot of that with a different production and some tweaks to the writing, not even radically changing it, you could either make it a fantastic comedy or a deep, satire film. One of the two, and either of them could be stonking. And that's my whole point about the original, is I don't think it quite nailed either or, and to me it's a mishmash of both. But it could quite easily be an 8 out of 10, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But as it is, for me, first time viewer, 5 out of 10 for what it is.
Okay. So for me, I actually enjoyed watching it this time round much more than any of the previous times I've seen it. Like I said at the start, I've probably seen bits of it here and there and probably only really watched it once in full. Watching it this time round, I actually really enjoyed it. I like the way it doesn't play in a kind of straight narrative style. I like the different elements of different stories intersecting, almost like the freeway that it's set around. The lanes cross and people go off in their own directions and then they come back again. I like all that, and I think because it was the second or maybe third viewing, Miller's speech at the oil drum actually made the film make sense because of what he's talking about in there about people intersecting and coincidences and all that.
Miller's got the best lines.
Yeah, but
Let's face it.
he that for me now feels like he's actually explaining what this film is. It is a load of disparate parts coming together to make one narrative, and I just think there's a lot of funny lines. And thinking back to its time period, like you said, Brett, it was crawling to make others run, because it kind of I don't for a second think it kick-started all of that sort of stuff, but it's very much one of those films that you see a thread of in other films like They Live and other sort of satires on consumerism and money in Hollywood and all that sort of stuff.
Especially if you think about, just butting in it, at the time, 84, you had Temple of Doom, Karate Kid, Ghostbusters, Dune, Neverending Story, Terminator, Gremlins. That was just sort of thing you were up against. And for something like this to a Last Starfighter, maybe, they were sort of, that was the sort of thing that was coming out at the time that was the big hits. And something like this was just a little bit too weird. I think,
too weird, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hollywood, it's not your conventional studio film. So for that and for I genuinely laughed out loud at certain points. So I'm giving it an 8.
No, go for it. Well, I'm interested now because I've watched it on the Eureka Masters of Cinema series edition, which I got, but it's got a different version on here that I've not watched. I've watched the original cinematic version in mono because it's still in mono, how it's supposed to be. But there is a Repo Man TV version, which is it says it's the legendary variant prepared by Cox for network television, incorporating deleted material previously unseen and surreal overdubs in place of profanity.
Yeah.
So there may be some extra bits or maybe some alternative takes that may shed a bit more light on some of the mysteries.
With its cult status was not necessarily the deleted scenes. I didn't know about deleted scenes, but the overdubbing helped because people say they tend to prefer that version because it makes it funny, makes it funnier, I should say.
Okay, so I might try that during the week. I'll report back next week if I get a chance, just to see. Because sometimes, it took about 15 versions to make Blade Runner good, didn't it? Did it? No, it didn't. Yeah,
Did it
exactly.
ever
Still hasn't succeeded, in our opinion.
But you know what I mean? Sometimes you get a different cut and there's a little bit more to it.
I prefer that to Blade Runner.
Story. But yeah.
Cool. So, if nothing else to say, that was the episode 61 of the Cult Faction podcast with a spotlight on Repo Man, plus all some views and news of what's been going down in our hood.
In Groove Town.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
Just let you know, if you did want to check Repo Man out, it's available to rent on most Amazon type YouTube places. You can buy it on normal Blu-rays, DVDs as well if you did want to check it out and tell us what we got right or wrong.
Yep.
And you can probably find it other places that you know about that we don't.
And thanks for listening on all of your streaming services, wherever you may have found us, whether that's Spotify, iTunes, all the podcasting services. Don't forget to check us out on the likes of TikTok,
Instagram.
I was going to say Tinder then.
Twitter.
No, we're not on Tinder. Well, not that I know of.
We'll make you famous.
Unless someone's got some dodgy profile of us. And please do rate and review us. It's all appreciated. Leave comments.
Share us, rate, review us.
If you want to email us and get in contact, we're on cultfactionpodcast@mail.com. Don't forget to check out the mothership of all things cult, which is, Brett,
cultfaction.com.
And without further ado, It's a good night from me, Paul Hawkins.
It's a good night from me, Brett Summers.
And it's good night from me, Damien Hicks.
Cheers. Don't have nightmares.
Superman.
Twat.
Fucking arsehole.
Such a twat. Many ignored. Oh, fuck off.
What's them just call it? Thingamajiggy thing.
Computer.
That's the
I
one.
like it when you say that. When you're using
All those technical terms.
That's right, we pray! Oh yeah, we pray! We need to pray just to make it today. We just have a lot to watch.
Saved it now. Fucking lost it.
Prick.
To
Yeah,
be
if he
fair.
waffles, I'll just cut him off.
No, no,
So
no, no,
people,
no.
download that.
I don't know. I've just got on.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Jesus Christ. When Brett was a very small boy, no small boys would talk to him because he was a big fat prick and he didn't like good films. He used to watch shitty cartoon programs. That doesn't change.
You know what dawned on me? When you were watching that, I was watching Robin of Sherwood.
Fuck off! I was watching Robin.
We all watch Robin of Sherwood. Don't give us that nonsense.
The Hooded Man.
Yeah, Saturday night.
Yeah.
Chip shop chips.
Proper chip shop chips,
Yeah.
not like they are now.
Yeah.
Dripping in fat.
Right, are we ready to get this shizzle
Yeah,
shizzling?
I'm ready.